welcome to my camera. Yes, I'm staring at my camera, but maybe welcome to my channel. I have some fun crafts for you today, so what are we waiting for? Let's get started. P.S. My name is Linda, and today we're going to be working on some Rustic Farmhouse Valentine home decor, so let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I'm using some leftover pieces from a Dollar Tree sign that, I've cut up on other projects. I've got 2 sizes here. These are a couple of little signs I found at a thrift store for 25 cents each. I actually found like 10 of them and, bought them all, but you could use like, a paint stick or something like that. And this is one of those wood tags as well from Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be using the couple of these wonky hearts. They come from Crafting With Kimber.com. They're 1/2-inch wood, so they sit up. And then also one of these, they come in a set of 12 of little mini hearts. I'll have links down below to both of these products in my description box. What I'm going to do is this one actually just fits perfect. On top here, we're going to make this a little bit 3D, and this one I'm going to need to cut down. I'm going to do it outside, off camera, cut everything down, and I'm going to cut this tag down at just a little smaller rectangle shape. Okay? And a little Bella to help. Everything is ready to go. I've sanded everything off. Now, as you can see there, I've got a little tumbling tower block in the upper left. I'm going to use that to help with that little rectangle piece of wood stand up. I'm going to use some DIY chalk paint. This is called Petticoat Pink, and Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Drop Cloth, as well as Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Rustic Red, but it's a little bit dark, so you might not be able to tell a lot of difference, but I do tone it down with a little bit of just plain white chalk paint. And then once I sand it and everything off camera and show it to you, it will look even lighter still. So I'm going to paint all of these like different colors, and we're going to kind of alternate. So like this big block is red. The one on top of it will be like a drop cloth. The smaller one up above, we're going to start with drop cloth, but we're going to put the little sign on top of it red. We're just going to kind of alternate the colors and hopefully get them into an order that looks really good, so it's very pleasing aesthetic. Okay, I like this project. It's fun, it's easy, it's quick. Most of the time was just kind of painting everything and waiting for it to dry. And I'm not painting it like really heavy, just a light coat, because I'm going to distress it anyway and make it look even more rustic. This one, I actually, because this Petticoat Pink is very light, I do kind of go in like 2 coats of this. It's just a little bit too light. So here everything is all sanded, ready to go. All right. And I'm going to figure out on this envelope, I'm going to mark it to make like a flap. And did I tell you I was making this rectangle piece be an envelope? That's what I'm doing. And I cut out some pieces using my Cricut machine to make the flap stand out more. Of course, you could just totally use a Sharpie marker, but I wasn't real confident with how straight my lines would be, even if I used a ruler. Now, something happened with my camera. It did it a couple of times through my projects today. I will look up periodically and make sure it's recording, and it was recording, but then my camera will just shut it off and delete it. So it deleted me adding these vinyl quotes to my pieces here, as well as gluing. So the glue is on there, moving them into position. You can see my XOXO in the top portion there. I'd already even started splattering with some chalk paint, mixed with a little water to water it down. But I needed to add some more splatters, so I'm doing that now. And then we're just going to start gluing. Like I said, I don't know why my phone does this, but just every once in a while I'll be like, hey, that was recording. Where did it go? So now we're going to just start putting everything together. I added a small heart on the envelope, added a bigger heart at the bottom, adding the tumbling tower block behind this so that it could stand up on that top block. And just using Beacon Fabrica glue for this. You could use hot glue or whatever kind of glue you want. Adding the other little heart, next to this on top of the envelope. Going to glue that down. That's what's nice about these thicker wonky hearts from craftingwithkimber.com. And then we'll just glue the top base to the bottom base. That makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Let's get started with project number 2. But first, Bella wants to be a star for a moment.
Oh, stretch it out. There you go. There we go. There's Isabella. Can we show people the crafts now? They might want to see the crafts now. Yes, they might. They might want to see the crafts. Yes. Oh, there's a girl. There's a girl. There she is. There's a girl.
So back to project number 2. This is so quick and easy. I literally have a salvage piece of wood already painted and this sign from Hobby Lobby that was $3.99. I will distress the sign a little bit and add a little bit of slight coloring to it just to change it up a bit, but really easy. So I just hand you a heart and then on this salvage piece of wood, I'm just going to trace both sides of the heart. I will cut it off camera just using my jigsaw, and that is basically the most time it took for this project. So on this back piece that's going to house our heart, I'm using this Dixie Belle stuff. It's called Dixie Dirt. It's an earth tone, but first I'm using white wax, and it says, use white wax, and then when it's a little tacky, you add like the dirt in it, and it's just this fluffy stuff, this powder really. And then once I get it in there, I kind of wipe off the excess and I sand it a little bit. It's very minute, but it does add a little bit of something to the back. Now I've got my 2 hearts here. I'm going to first take some of this wood glue and I'm going to glue the hearts to it, and then once I get both sides on it, I will clamp it, add something a little heavy in the middle and let it set up, and then I'll just add some 1 1/4 inch nails to it to give it a little bit of rustic look down the center. Really, you don't need it, but I think it just adds a little bit more something. So here I am clamping it, adding something heavy in the middle. Set about 10 minutes. And now I'm coming in and adding the nails, kind of like alternating side to side all the way down, one high, one low, one high, one, what I'm saying, like alternating. Leaving the center open because I'm going to add a piece of hardware there that I think is really fun. You can see how they're looking, like a little zigzag down the center is what I want to say. All right, before I do that, I'm taking some chalk paint in black. I've watered it down in my fan brush and I'm adding some splatters to all of it. The splatters just kind of help ground everything together, to 2 pieces together, I think. It doesn't just look like a heart sitting on top of a bottom sign piece. This is some hardware I have. I got at Habitat for Humanity. I'm going to use this quick hold glue. It's kind of a tangent off of E6000, and in some of these double-sided foam tape, it's like super glue foam tape you can get at Dollar Tree, and I added some foam tape like in the middle there to take up space and give me a little more gluing surface, then adding that glue, and I'm going to put it into the middle, let it set for about 10 minutes, and it takes 24 hours to cure. And then I have, this is wire that came off of a sign. It's already rustic, it's already painted, it's everything. And then the key came off of this little sign too, and I'm just adding it to the center. I'm not even going to glue it on. I'm just, as you can see, wrapping the wire around the little knob there, squishing it up, the little squiggles up, that kind of thing. And then that makes this project complete. The longest it took was to cut out the heart with my jigsaw. What do you think? Let's move on to our last project, number 3, a lindified dupe. So I saw online on Pinterest this digi print, and I really kind of liked it. Of course, I'm going to change up the coloring, but I wanted to make it a little bit more 3D. So let's see what you think when I'm finished. All right, so I'm starting out with these slat boards. I call them slat boards from Dollar Tree. I've just got it on a base. I'm not using that base. It's just kind of a waxy placemat so I can move these boards around. They're 12 inches. I've got 8 of them, of course, and then I'm using a couple of paint sticks, which I already have cut to the side. The paint sticks are going to be my framing around this sign, of course. And this project I think is pretty easy as well. And then I have 20 of these wooden hearts from Dollar Tree. Okay, and I think I end up using like 7 of one color and then 13 of another. My hearts on the top, I'm going to have red, and then my hearts that have the lesser count, I'm going to have pink. Now, I got these from Dollar Tree. They have different designs, and they do already come with red and pink hearts, but I want mine a little bit different shade. But, you might elect to just, they're already done, and you can distress them up a little bit, and there you go. So the next thing I'm going to do is use wood glue, and I'm just going to wood glue these together. Now, I do them in like portion. So I'm going to like wood glue 3 together, and then I'm going to clamp them, let it set for just about 10 minutes. And then I'll do 3 more, clamp them, set, you know, that way, because it's hard trying to do a long span of them and keep them flat and, you know, clamp them together and that kind of thing. So it's easier for me to like clamp and then put 2 upright on the end. And then that way. I said that backwards, but you know what I mean. Now, once it's all done, this actually measures about 15¼ inches in length, and then not quite 12 inches tall. I mean, they're just supposed to be 12-inch slat boards, but they really come under just a little bit. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint, any color drop cloth, and some antique wax mixed with water. Now, the drop cloth paint, I have watered down quite a bit, and this is a process, and of course, you can see my watered down antique wax. It's a process. You kind of go back and forth, and you just do with it how you like, okay, until you're satisfied with it. First thing I want to do is tape off the ends so that I don't get any color on that, so I can wood glue the framing around it when I'm done. And then with the watered down drop cloth, I'm just going to paint a few at a time really lightly, and then I'm going to come in and wipe it off. Okay, so you can still see the grain down below it. Now, this is going to end up way different colors than the original I saw, of course, but that's where the lindified comes in, right? So I'm going to continue that process down through the end, and then I'll kind of let it dry just a slight. And then I'm going to come in with the stain and do the same process, paint it on, wipe it off. And I'm going to repeat that process a couple of times. Sometimes I use my heat tool in between the layers, because otherwise if you don't, it might get quite muddied up. So, you know, you might want to really dry in between the layers really well. Like after I do this one here, I'll dry it really good, you know, with the heat tool, and then I'll come back in and start with the drop cloth paint, and then come in with the Waverly Antique Wax, dry it in between, that kind of thing. But now what I'm doing, I've got about 2 coats of that first process. I'm coming in with the paintbrush with the antique wax, drying it in between, and I'm really trying to accentuate the space between the slats. Okay, so that you really just see that. And then off camera, I take like a tool and I make some scrapes in the wood and everything, really trying to make it look rustic, you know, just how I, you know, want it to look, that rustic, fun look. And then I'm coming back in, doing a little bit of kind of dry brush on there. I'll spray it, wet it down, just kind of repeating my process and just doing it till I like how it looks, of course. Okay, and then the next thing I do is I do a little bit of sanding, again, trying to accentuate the space in between the slats, that kind of thing, to make it look good. Then I'm going to set that aside, let it dry a little bit, and we're going to work on using that Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water and do a little cheapo stain on our framing pieces. Off camera, I will sand them and, you know, make them look all distressed. I'm leaving the bottom where all the words are on the paint sticks unpainted, because we're going to, you know, glue that down onto our frame. Now I'm taking the Debbie's Design Diary DIY wax, kind of like that other project we just did, putting the wax on. You can see I already started a little bit, and then coming in with Dixie Belle, that Dixie Dirt and Earth. Now, it's supposed to be like a brown shade, but when you put it on, as you can see, and again, here's where one of my things were, because I had already started it, and I was recording, and it lost it. So luckily, I'm doing a few coats of this. I'm coming in with just that powder in between the slats, but that brown almost looks like a gray, but I'm okay with that. I like it. And then I come in and I distress a little bit more, and I'm scraping in between the slats, just however you want that, just repeating that process to get it how you like it. And then we're going to set that aside. Okay? Now, before we move on to the next step, I thought you'd love this little treat. As I create for you, this is my space. It's looking well used. I'm not a very cleanly crafter. All right, next up, we're going to start painting our hearts. The top portion is going to be the red like we used in our first project, of course, and then this petticoat pink for the bottom. And I just do a couple of coats on each one, and then I will distress them off camera so they have that nice chalky, well-used look, and then we'll just start getting them on to our project. Couple of coats on the bottom, couple of coats on the top, and then moving forward. All right, I've got everything where I want it set. It looks funny right now. These are all nice and distressed around the edges. It looks funny. It looks almost gray with the hearts. We don't have the framing on, but don't worry. Stay with me. Give me a thumbs up if you're still with me here. This is going to look great in the end when we get it all framed up. So now what I want to do, I'm going to use my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue. You can use hot glue, super glue, whatever you want, as well as some of those sticky foam tabs like I used in the last project, because some of the hearts I want to double up, and those sticky foam tabs are going to help take up the space from the heart that is sitting on down to the sign itself. So just gluing on a couple of hearts for you. I'll do most of it off camera, but just letting you see the process. And then here I go with one of them, putting the sticky on it, gluing one side of it that's going to touch the heart, a little bit glue on the sticky, and then adding it to the heart that I want it to buddy up with. Okay, those sticky foam dots, they are so sticky, but my brain is always like, add some Fabri-Tac glue, make sure it doesn't come off in 5 years, you know. So, but I think there wouldn't be a problem. I've tried to peel those suckers off about, a month or two later. They are very hard to get off. Anyway, just finishing up that. And now I wanted to add a little bit of something, a little bit of Lindified here. I just printed a quote off with vinyl, using my Cricut machine. I'll have all the fonts listed down below in my description box of all of the fonts that I used on today's projects. But I thought it would just be cute to add a little bit of a quote to make it more personal. My heart I give to you. And now we're going to use some Gorilla Glue and get our framing down. And here's where it's going to start to allow this sign to come all together. So I'm really excited about it. Piece number 3 and the last piece. See, now doesn't it look better? You were scared for a moment, weren't you? Truthfully, I was too, but I love it. All right, then I'm going to ground everything together. I'm telling you, adding the splatters kind of grounds all those top pieces with the bottom pieces. I even add them onto the framing and everything, so it totally, of course, looks intentional. Let's take a look at the final results. Here's my creation on the left, the Digi creation, because it's a digital print, on the right. What do you think? Which one do you like better? So I hope you enjoyed all of the projects I did today. I can't believe how super easy project number 2 was. Like I stated, the longest it took was to cut out the heart out of that salvage wood, with a jigsaw, because the paint was already on it, everything. Really, to put it all together, I probably had that project done in 20 minutes, and it's a rustic masterpiece. The other 2, I love it because the colors, and they're soft. They're very farmhouse, but Valentine, and you can really kind of put them up in everyday decor, I think. I don't know. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which project was your favorite. Please give this video a thumbs up. Share it if you'd like. It helps my channel to grow. I'm trying to hit those big triple-digit numbers this year. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another video from me. Now, before I go, I have one final thought. So today's final thought is kind of food for thought as Christians today. We are the outcome of the revolution of the book of Acts. We see how one small group grew in vast numbers because the Spirit of God provided miraculous healings to hearts, minds, and bodies through a core group of believers. These believers boldly preached Jesus while their lives reflected his presence. Their faith touched lives as they encouraged people, helped to lift them up, and gave generously with what they had, all while sharing the love of Jesus. They didn't care about building empires, they just cared about spreading the good news through word and deed. Because of the sacrifice of ordinary people in the past who cared enough to faithfully share the good news of Jesus 2,000 years ago, today we have met the Savior. We believe in his word and we share his heart. Through the past and into the present, we are now the ordinary Christians with an extraordinary Savior. We are part of the amazing family of God. We have been accepted, forgiven, redeemed. Through the same gift of the Holy Spirit in our lives, we are surrounded with the light of God's grace as we seek refuge in God's holy presence. Our faith in Jesus has changed our lives and turned our traumas into joy. It has brought healings to our hearts, our bodies, and our spirits are able to rest in what Jesus has for us. We have a hope and an endurance to finish the race set before us. In the Bible, the book of Hebrews, chapters 12, verse 1 and 2, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. We have a God working in our lives, a God that can be trusted no matter what we are walking through. And today there are a lot of things happening around us in this world, but we have a safe haven in Jesus. We have an anchor for our hearts. None of this would have been possible without the pioneers who blazed the way. We have been changed from within, and we now live for a cause far greater than that of ourselves. We have abundantly all that we could ask for or imagine, and we have now been tasked as being the trailblazers. We now have the same opportunity as those in our past. It's our turn to be like Him, love like Him, and share Him with those around us. In doing so, we bring heaven into their hearts, and then they'll be able to experience the love of Christ in their own lives. As they feel His hope and joy, then they'll want to share His love by carrying the torch of His light into their next generation. And so the love of Jesus carries forward. Only this time, we get to be the veterans cheering them on as they blaze a trail and move mountains until Christ returns. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.